beg your pardon, that's better. Good afternoon, members, committee members, members of the public and those that are watching on YouTube. Before I get to the agenda, I'll get my Vice Chairman to read out some housekeeping rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The building fire alarm signal is a continuous two-tone alarm. On hearing the evacuation alarm, leave the building by the nearest marked exit route. Follow the green signs to the assembly point, which is a large staff car park opposite the entrance to the building. Anyone who cannot use the stairs will be helped by the officers present after other people have left. Do not return to the building until it's told it is safe to do so by any authorised officer. The whole of the council site is a no smoking area. The mobile phones must be switched to silent or off, please.
Thank you. By way of introductions, my name is Councillor Dick Stratton. I'm chairman of this committee. To my right is Mr. Nick Rogers, business unit leader. To his right is Mr. Stephen King, planning officer team leader. Over in the corner we have Aidan that is looking after the technical bits for us this afternoon. To my left is Councillor Bruce Falls, my vice chairman. To his left is Mr. Tom Clark, head of legal services. And we have Alison over in the corner taking the minutes for us today. So the first item on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence. And we have apologies from Councillor Hatton, LeBand and Councillor Whitaker. Item 2 is to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda.
Sorry. I'm down as one of the full council.
Sorry,
You just got Councillor Christopher Phillips.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. Right, item 3, that is to confirm the minutes of the previous meetings of the District Planning Committee held on the 11th of May and 19th of May 22. And I'd just like to advise that the timings for the annual meeting have been corrected to read 7:40 to 7:43 p.m. If I have no questions on the minutes, can members vote on their keypads now, please? And Mr. Clark will read out the announcement. Press one, press yours.
Yes, that's all in favour, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. Item 4 on the agenda is to consider any items that the Chairman agrees to take as urgent business. I have none. Item 5 on the agenda is the planning application for this afternoon, recommended for approval, and that is DM/20/4127 Barnes Court and Friday Farm, Turners Hill Road, Crawley Down. And I will pass that over to Mr. King for take us through it, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Before I start, I'll just draw members' attention to the update sheet. Received one further letter querying the reason why the application is going back to committee and reiterating previous objections. And the other item is just an update to the report in terms of the status of the site allocations development plan document. And you'll see that can now be afforded significant weight now that we've had the planning inspector's report on that. So I'll just very briefly go through the application. So the application seeks outline planning permission for the expansion of the existing commercial estate at Barnes Court and Friday Farm, and that's the application site there, outlined in red, just south of the Duke's Head roundabout. It's an outline form and seeks consent for the means of access only. The application also sought consent for the replacement, a one-for-one replacement of an existing dwelling on the site. The application was reported to the District Planning Committee in September last year, where members resolved to approve the application subject to the completion of a legal agreement to secure infrastructure monies and off-site highway works. The legal agreement's nearing completion, but in the course of seeking to complete that legal agreement, an issue arose in relation to the mitigation works on the Duke's Head roundabout, and this report clarifies for members what's proposed in relation to those off-site highway works. The report also updates the planning policy position. It's important to note that there's been no change to the application itself, and there have been no changes on the ground either since the application was reported to committee in September. So, as we know, members decided the application was acceptable in September, and given the fact that the application hasn't changed, there have been no changes on the ground, and the planning policies in the district plan and the Copthorn neighbourhood plan remain the same. There are no reasons to revisit all of the issues associated with the application. So very briefly, just to refresh members, I'll go through the application itself and will then clarify why it's been reported back to committee. So as I say, this is the application site outlined in red. So it's on the west side of Turners Hill Road, just south of the Duke's Head roundabout. To the north, you've got Firs Farm, which is a private residential property. Within the site, you've got a cluster of commercial units. There's an existing dwelling on the site that's proposed to be replaced on a one-for-one basis. Well screened along the frontage, and at the back, got some area of ancient woodland across down here. There's also a public right-of-way that runs along the southern boundary of the site. This is just a plan that shows the listed buildings that are referred to in the report. So that's the Firs, that is Poplar's Place, and that one there is Shepherd's Farm. So they're the three listed buildings that are referred to in the committee report. And this is just an extract from the site allocations DPD that shows the existing employment site. So that is in the allocations as a preserved site. So as I say, the application seeks outline planning permission for commercial units on the site. These buildings in brown are the existing buildings on the site. These buildings here is illustrative as to how the site could be developed to provide these extra units. The means of access would remain exactly the same to the site. So as you're coming out of the site, it directs you to turn left, and then you go up to the Duke's Head roundabout. And again, that's a colour version of just an illustrative plan to show how the site could be developed to provide these units, i.e. the ones in grey. And this also shows illustratively the position of the proposed one-for-one replacement dwelling. At the moment, it's further northwards in the site. In terms of the planning history, that's quite extensive. That's set out in page 19 of the committee report, and you'll see that we've said that the views of the planning inspector are important considerations in determining the application. So I say access into the site, exactly the same as it was in September. Minor proposed widening there, but still directing you to turn left at the site up to the Duke's Head roundabout. This is a proposed drawing showing potential improvements to the Duke's Head roundabout, and I've put the drawing number there because that's referred to in the committee report, and this is the reason why it's coming back to committee, but I'll come back to that. And the other off-site works is a provision of a footway just beyond where the public right-of-way comes out that would allow you to walk southwards and then cross over the road. And there's an existing footway on the other side of the Turners Hill Road that then goes down to Crawley Down. So as I say, the application details are all exactly the same as it was in September, and they're set out in the committee report. And just again to refresh members' memory, just some photos. So that's views of the existing vehicular access into the site, so you can see the way it's angled round to make you turn left coming out of the site. Views within the site of the various buildings, I'm sure members are familiar. Again, more views within the site, so there are some of the fishing lakes at the back. That's a view of the pedestrian link that goes up to the Copthorn Common Road to the north. And just some views of the existing dwelling on the site that's proposed to be replaced on a one-for-one basis, and the access into that dwelling, which isn't proposed to change. So if I just go back. In terms of the updates then, just to very briefly go through them. Firstly, since the application was reported to committee in September, the Copthorn neighbourhood plan has been made and is now part of the development plan for the area. The previous report in September referred to the relevant policies in the Copthorn neighbourhood plan, but at that time it hadn't been made. This doesn't affect the merits of the application in any way. Secondly, it's been clarified that the whole site is within the Copthorn neighbourhood plan area. In September, the report referred to a small slither of land at the access being within the area covered by the Crawley Down neighbourhood plan, but that was an anomaly on the council's mapping system. So the whole site's within the area of the Copthorn neighbourhood plan. Thirdly, as I've mentioned, there's the update on the update sheet in respect of the status of policy SA34. This follows the recent publication of the inspector's report on the site allocations, DPD. But the substantive issue, why the applications come back to committee, relates to the legal agreement that's proposed to secure the off-site improvement works to the Duke's Head roundabout. And you'll see from the report that Highway Authority have no objection to the application, and they required a contribution of £52,718 to go towards off-site improvement works at the Duke's Head roundabout. Members might recall that at the committee meeting in September there were questions about those off-site mitigation works, and in the presentation this drawing, the number drawing there was referred to, and the works that were proposed was an extra a widening of the southern approach arm, so you'd end up with 3 lanes on that southern arm of the roundabout. During the course of completing the legal agreement, it's become apparent that it's not the preference of the Highway Authority for the works that are shown on this drawing to be delivered. Therefore, the report is to clarify this, and that's set out on page 40. So in a nutshell, the Highway Authority's position is that they don't wish for that contribution to be ring-fenced and solely limited to providing these works that are shown here. They want the flexibility to be able to potentially pool that money with other monies that may come forward to deliver more comprehensive improvements on the roundabout. So that the monies will still be spent on the Duke's Head roundabout, but the clarification for members is that the Highway Authority don't want it ring-fenced, to deliver solely what is shown on this drawing. So, as I say, that is the reason why it's come back to committee. The Highway Authority are content. This is what they want in terms of the application. They have no objection to the application. And on that basis, the application remains acceptable, and that's it in a nutshell, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. King, for a comprehensive update on that. We have no public speakers today, but before I throw this open to the committee, I think this is with other sites being promoted in the area, and rather than have piecemeal development on that roundabout, you know, it's, I tend to agree with highways that let's have a proper scheme, you know, done on that and have the money pulled. So, members, I'll throw it open for any questions. Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with this approach. I did some research this morning for accidents in the Duke's Head roundabout, and it was actually closed on the 1st of June this year because of an accident on the roundabout. So, I mean, I think highways have got to be commended here. For once, we're going to get not a piecemeal scheme, a proper scheme, by pulling all the monies that are going to come along and make that roundabout safer, because it is a notorious roundabout. I know it means shoving everything down the Felbridge end to make the traffic go around it, you know, flow quicker, but it's safer, and that's the big thing, it's safer. Speed isn't what it's all about. This one is just to make it safer. And I agree with the proposal that Mr. King is just, that it shouldn't be ring-fenced just for that, but it should go into the pot to actually improve the Duke's Head roundabout. For that, I will support it. And if you need somebody to propose it, I'm happy to propose it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bates.
Clarification, Mr. Chairman, on the footpath arrangements. I think the report said there's an extension going to be made from the site up to the Turners Hill Road. But if I remember from our site visit, we walked down the road towards where the new bungalow is going to be, but there isn't a footpath there. And likewise, yeah, but we had to cross the road to walk on the safest part of the road. And likewise, going back to the roundabout, there isn't a footpath there either. Could you clarify what is proposed in that respect?
Well, I think that's already been agreed, but Mr. King, would you like to just clarify, because there is a 2 metre wide footpath cycle route from Turners Hill Road going towards the Esso garage, and I think there's a 55 metre path from the development to the bus stop, something, I believe. No, look at it.
The Duke's Head roundabout down towards the Turners Hill Road, and you've got to get into the site or out of the site, go left or right. There isn't any footpath.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In terms of what's proposed in relation to the footway, you've got the public right-of-way that comes out on the western side of Turners Hill Road, and it's also the access for the single dwelling. What's proposed is a section of footway on this side, on the west side of the Turners Hill Road, not long, but this section of footway here, and then that would allow you to cross over and then carry on the existing footpath or pavement which runs along the other side. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I think the other one was you can't go back towards the roundabout on a footpath.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Coote.
Thank you, Chairman. It is a couple of things. Any improvements to the roundabout, can we please make it clear to the County Council that the foliage on the roundabout should not be removed? Some years ago, when I was the county councillor, I drove past there to see some busy gentlemen with chainsaws, and I stopped them working, which got me into some bother, because I said to people, don't want foliage removed. And he said, well, it makes the vision better. Well, it doesn't, because traffic coming from Crawley or going the other way, it blots headlights at night. So can we please make sure that the county in their infinite wisdom don't start cutting all the foliage down to better the roundabout, because it won't help anything. And the other thing is to strengthen the coming out of that site, turning to the left, because it is a pretty dangerous road. It works quite well at the moment, because it's right on the border of my patch. That's all, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, I don't think we're actually discussing future applications, which we don't know exactly what's going to take place. That will come down the line in the future. What we are discussing today, to remind members, is the pooling of the monies for a much better infrastructure improvements on that roundabout.
If I may, Chairman, then in which case, could we ask them, no, press something, right or left? Right. Could I ask that any future works to be done on the roundabout to come back to either this council or to Worth Parish Council?
Okay, I'm sure your comments are noted then. Councillor Trumbull.
Thank you, Chairman. Yesterday, I was reading the minutes of this committee from the 16th of September last year. This same application was discussed fully, it was examined fully, and this committee decided to accept it with one recommendation for refusal. So we have accepted this. And what's before us today is the same, with the exception, as Steve King laid out, some sensible alterations to the 106 regarding highways, and the Copthorn neighbourhood plan having been made since that time, although he outlined, and indeed it outlines in the report, that it doesn't impact the merits of this application. I do not see, Chairman, how we can possibly refuse this. So I am assuming that Councillor Marsh has moved as recommended. I'm very happy to second that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Trumbull. I have one more speaker, Councillor Jackson.
Right, thank you, Chairman. I've heard what was said, and I'm all in favour of making that roundabout having better access from the Turners Hill Road and also improve its safety. So I'm certainly in favour of that. Obviously, I voted in favour of this application previously, and I haven't changed my mind on that. One question I do want to ask, though, is will we have a site to make any comments on the new proposal for the roundabout? Will that come to us at any point?
I'll pass it over to Mr. King. I'm not sure whether it come back to this committee or not. No.
Yeah, normally the details of the scheme would be in the legal agreement, and it works on the roundabout, which is the responsibility of the county council. So that wouldn't normally come back to the district council or a planning committee for us to approve, because it's works that will be done by the highway authority on their own land. Right. So normally, no, I think is the answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I have no other speakers, so Councillor Marsh, I take it you want to recommend this for approval, and seconded by Councillor Trumbull. It's the recommendations are the same as before. I will read them out. Recommendation A. It is recommended that, subject to the completion of a satisfactory S106 legal agreement and or legal undertaking to secure the required level of infrastructure contributions and contribution towards off-site improvements to the Duke's Head roundabout and the section of pavement adjacent to the Turners Hill Road, planning permission be granted subject to the conditions set out in Appendix A. And recommendation B, if by, Mr King, that date 15th September in that recommendation, would that be changed, wouldn't it? Or
It's just 3 months on from today's date, so that's the normal time we give people
Right,
to try and
okay.
get 106s done.
Okay, so I'll continue. If by the 15th September 2022, the applicants have not submitted a satisfactory signed S106 legal agreement and or legal undertaking securing the necessary financial contributions, then it is recommended that planning permission be refused at discretion of the divisional leader for planning and economy for the following reasons. The application fails to comply with policy DP20 of the Mid-Sussex District Plan and paragraphs 55 and 57 of the National Planning Policy Framework in respect of the infrastructure required to serve this development. So if members would like to vote using their keypads now, please, and the legal officer will announce the result.
Still one missing. It's 9 of us.
Has everyone voted?
I can't remember. 9 of us here.
And press your button again. That's it. That's... And just wait a few moments while it comes up on the screen. Thank you very much, Ms Clark. Item 6 on the agenda. Questions pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10.2, due notice of which has been given. I have none. And I close this meeting at 14:26. And thank you, members, for coming this afternoon.